I'm Brianna, 29 years old, and I'm standing in my empty apartment holding two things that just destroyed my life, my engagement ring and a pink slip from my marketing job. My fiancé Derek walked out an hour ago, saying he couldn't marry someone with no ambition or future. My phone buzzes with a text from my mother. Derek told us everything. How could you embarrass our family like this? I stare at this ring, remembering how 3 months ago Derek promised me forever. Now I've lost everything in a single day. Before we continue this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. If you've ever felt like your whole world came crashing down in one moment, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of transformation. Trust me, what happens next will show you that sometimes losing everything is exactly what you need to gain everything you never knew you wanted. Let's dive into how the worst day of my life became the beginning of something incredible. That morning started like any other Tuesday. I kissed Derek goodbye, grabbed my coffee, and headed to the office where I'd worked as a senior marketing manager for 3 years. By 10:30, my boss Harold called me into his office. The company had lost our biggest client, and they were downsizing. Just like that, I was out. No warning, no performance issues, just budget cuts and bad timing. I packed my desk into a cardboard box while my coworkers avoided eye contact, probably grateful it wasn't them. I decided to go home early and maybe surprise Derek with lunch. We could figure this out together, I thought. We were getting married in 6 months. Partners support each other through tough times, right? But when I opened our apartment door, I found Derek in our bedroom, throwing his clothes into suitcases. He looked up at me, and instead of surprise or concern about why I was home early, I saw relief. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Thank God you're here," he said, but not in the way a loving fiancé would say it. "We need to talk." That's when I noticed he'd already packed everything. The closet was half empty. His gaming setup was disconnected. Even his coffee mug was gone from the kitchen counter. I could see through the doorway. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. I set down my pathetic cardboard box of office supplies. "I got laid off today," I said, hoping maybe this would snap him back to being the man who'd proposed to me on the beach last year. Instead, he sighed like I'd just added another item to some list he was keeping. "I know," he said. "Your sister called me an hour ago. She heard from someone at your company." My sister Diane worked in the same building but for a different firm. Of course she'd heard. Of course she'd called Derek before calling me. "Derek, what's happening here? Why are you packing?" My voice sounded small, pathetic even to my own ears. He straightened up, and that's when he delivered the line that would echo in my head for months. "I can't marry someone with no ambition or future, Brianna. I need a partner who's going somewhere in life." The cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. 3 hours ago, I had ambition. I had a future. I had a career. "It's just a job loss, Derek. I'll find another one. We have savings." But he was already shaking his head. "No, we don't. I moved my money out of the joint account last week. That was my money anyway. I earned more." This wasn't true. We'd contributed equally to that account for 2 years. $15,000. Gone. "You talked to my family?" I asked, remembering what he'd said about Diane calling. He actually smiled then, this cold smile I'd never seen before. "Your mother and I have been talking for weeks. We're all concerned about you, Brianna. You've been coasting in that dead-end job, no real career progression. Your sister agrees. Even your father thinks you need a wake-up call." My phone started ringing. My mother. Then Diane. Then my mother again. I didn't answer. Derek continued packing while he talked, like he was discussing the weather. "Your family wants what's best for you. This relationship was enabling your lack of ambition. I'm doing you a favor, really." The apartment intercom buzzed. Derek hit the button. "Yeah, send her up," he said. A minute later, my sister walked in like she owned the place. Diane, 2 years older and infinitely more bitter, surveyed the scene with satisfaction. "Good, you're finally doing it," she said to Derek. Then to me, "Don't look so shocked, Brianna. We've all been worried about you." "Worried about me?" My voice was rising now. "I had a good job until 3 hours ago. I have a college degree. I pay my bills. What exactly were you worried about?" Diane laughed, this harsh sound that reminded me of every time she'd torn me down since we were kids. "You've been playing at being successful. Assistant marketing manager at a mediocre company? Please. Derek deserves better." We all knew this relationship was holding him back. They talked about me like I wasn't there, comparing notes on my failures. Derek mentioned how I'd turned down a job offer last year that would have meant relocating. I'd turned it down because he'd begged me to stay, said his career was taking off here. Diane brought up how I'd missed Mom's book club meeting last month because of a work deadline. Apparently, that showed I had wrong priorities. My phone rang again. This time I answered. My mother's voice was ice cold. "Derek told us everything, Brianna. How could you embarrass our family like this?" "Diane says you've been fired for incompetence. That you've been hiding problems at work for months. We raised you better than this." "Mom, that's not true. I was laid off because of budget cuts. I haven't been hiding anything." But she wasn't listening. She never did. "Your father and I are devastated. Derek was the best thing that ever happened to you, and you've driven him away with your laziness and lack of ambition. Don't come to the house. We need time to process this embarrassment." The line went dead. My own mother had just disowned me over lies my ex-fiancé and sister had told her. I looked at Diane, searching for some sign of the sister who used to braid my hair and share secrets. "Why are you doing this?" She stepped closer, and for a moment, I thought I saw something human in her eyes. Then it vanished. "You want to know why?" "Because I'm tired of watching you get everything handed to you. The pretty one. The smart one. The one who got engaged first. Well, guess what? Now you're nothing." Derek zipped up his last suitcase. "The landlord knows I'm leaving. I removed my name from the lease 2 months ago. You never noticed because you never paid attention to the important stuff. Rent's due in 2 weeks. Good luck with that without a job." He pulled out a manila envelope. "Sign these. They absolve me of any financial obligations to you." My hand shook as I looked at the papers. He'd been planning this for months. Every kiss, every "I love you," every plan we'd made for our wedding, all of it had been a lie for at least 2 months. "I'm keeping the ring," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Derek shrugged. "It's worthless anyway. Cubic zirconia. Another thing you never noticed." They left together, Derek and Diane, talking about meeting my parents for dinner. A family dinner I clearly wasn't invited to. As the door closed, I heard Diane say, "I knew she'd just stand there and take it. She's always been weak." I called my best friend Amy. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. A text came through from my brother Michael. "Heard what happened. Mom says not to contact me. I'm sorry." Even my younger brother was cutting me off. I sank to the floor, still clutching that worthless ring. My laptop was in the cardboard box from my office. I opened it and logged into our bank account. Derek had been telling the truth. The account was empty. $15,000 gone. The rent was $2,100 a month. I had maybe $300 in my personal checking account. Another buzz at the intercom. This time it was a process server with an eviction notice. The landlord was giving me 30 days to vacate. Apparently, Derek had told him I'd lost my job and wouldn't be able to pay. He'd poisoned that well too. I sat in that empty apartment, surrounded by everything Derek hadn't wanted, and tried to understand how my entire life had imploded in less than 4 hours. Job gone. Fiancé gone. Family gone. Savings gone. Soon, home gone. My phone had stopped ringing. Even my humiliation wasn't interesting enough to hold their attention for long. As the sun set through the windows of what would soon not be my apartment, I realized the man I'd planned to marry had orchestrated my complete destruction. And my own family had helped him do it. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, still in yesterday's clothes. For a moment, I forgot everything. Then reality crashed back. No job to go to. No fiancé beside me. No family to call. But I wasn't going to collapse. Not yet. I needed answers, and I knew exactly where to get them. I drove to my parents' house in the suburbs, the same house where I'd grown up, where my height marks were still penciled on the kitchen doorframe. My car was one thing Derek hadn't been able to take, since it was in my name. Small mercies. Their cars were in the driveway. Good. I needed to face them, needed to understand how my own parents could turn on me so completely based on lies. I still had my key, but when I tried it, it wouldn't turn. They'd changed the locks. Already. In less than 24 hours, they'd locked me out of my childhood home. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I could hear voices inside, so I walked around to the side window. That's when I heard everything. My mother Margaret, my sister Diane, and my father Thomas were in the living room, and they were discussing me like I was a problem to be solved. The hardest part is done, Diane was saying. Derek played his part perfectly. She bought every word. My mother's laugh was cold, nothing like the woman who'd taught me to ride a bike. I still can't believe it took him so long to see what we've seen for years. Brianna's always been the weak link in this family. I pressed closer to the window, my heart hammering. My father's voice, usually so quiet, rang clear. The question now is damage control. People will talk when they find out she's been fired and Derek left her. Diane responded quickly, already handled. I'd been telling people at work that she was let go for performance issues. And Derek's been setting the groundwork with their friend group for weeks. Everyone thinks she's been struggling with mental health issues. Mental health issues? They were spreading lies about my mental health? My mother chimed in, good. The last thing we need is people feeling sorry for her. This needed to happen. She was getting too comfortable, thinking she was better than us with her college degree and her fancy marketing job. That's when I understood. This wasn't about my job or Derek or even my supposed lack of ambition. This was about jealousy. Pure, poisonous jealousy that had been festering for years. I thought about all the times my mother had made cutting remarks about my education, how Diane always brought up my student loans at family dinners, how they'd mocked my apartment as trying too hard to be sophisticated. How long have you been planning this? My father asked, and for a moment, I thought maybe he wasn't part of it. Then Diane answered, since she got engaged. Mom and I knew Derek was our way in. He's always been insecure about Brianna making almost as much as him. All it took was a few conversations about how she was holding him back, how he deserved someone who would support his career better. My mother added, the timing with her job was perfect. I have to thank Cousin Ruth for the tip about the layoffs. Though we would have found another way if needed. Cousin Ruth worked in HR at my company. The conspiracy went deeper than I'd imagined. My own extended family was involved. I couldn't listen anymore. I walked to the front door and pounded on it. The voices inside went silent. Then footsteps. The door opened, and my mother stood there, perfectly put together as always, looking at me like I was a stranger trying to sell something. I told you not to come here, she said. But I pushed past her into the house. Diane was sitting on the couch, actually smirking. My father stood by the fireplace, not meeting my eyes. I heard you, I said. I heard everything. You planned this. You've been plotting with Derek to ruin my life. Diane stood up slowly, smoothing her skirt. Eavesdropping now? How typical. Always sneaking around, trying to be better than us. I faced her, really looked at her for the first time in years. When had my sister become this bitter, hateful person? I've never tried to be better than anyone. I've just been living my life. Living your life? Diane's voice rose. You mean showing off? Every family dinner, talking about your projects and your engagement and your perfect little life? Do you know what it's like being the older sister who got passed over for everything? I should have been the one with the good job. I should have been the one getting married first. So you destroyed my life because you're jealous? I turned to my mother. And you helped her? My own mother? Margaret's face was stone. Don't be dramatic. We simply helped Derek see the truth about you. You've always thought you were too good for this family. With your degree and your career and your heirs. Heirs? What heirs? I've never looked down on any of you. I've included you in everything. I wanted you to be proud of me. The words came out broken, pathetic. My mother's expression flickered, just for a moment, then hardened again. Proud? Of what? That you moved to that overpriced apartment instead of staying home to help the family? That you took a job that kept you too busy for family obligations? That you chose Derek over better matches we suggested? You hated Derek. You said he wasn't good enough for me. I was shouting now. That was before we realized how useful he could be, Diane said, examining her nails. He was so easy to manipulate. A few comments about how you emasculated him with your success, some hints about how other men wouldn't tolerate a woman who earned as much as them, and he was putty in our hands. My father finally spoke. You need to leave, Brianna. You're no longer welcome in this house. I stared at him, this man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd walked me down the aisle at my college graduation. Dad, please. You can't agree with this. They're lying about me to everyone. He finally met my eyes, and what I saw there was worse than anger. It was indifference. Your mother and sister are trying to help you, even if you can't see it. You've lost your way. Maybe hitting bottom will help you find it again. That's when my mother slapped me. Hard. Across the face. The shock was worse than the pain. In 29 years, she'd never laid a hand on me. Don't you dare speak to your father that way. You ungrateful little brat. We gave you everything, and this is how you repay us? I touched my cheek, feeling the heat from her hand. You gave me everything so you could take it away. This was never about love. It was about control. Diane laughed. Finally, she gets it. Too bad it's too late. Everyone knows what you really are now. A failure who couldn't keep a job or a man. I heard footsteps on the stairs and saw my brother Michael coming down. 25 years old and still living at home, he'd always been the baby, the one who stayed out of family drama. Michael, I said, reaching for him. Tell them this is crazy. He walked past me to the kitchen, then came back and pressed something into my hand. Car keys and cash. I'm sorry, he whispered. Take my spare apartment key. It's in the car. They don't know about it. Then louder, you should go, Brianna. You're upsetting Mom. As I turned to leave, Diane called out, oh, and Derek wanted me to tell you he's already seeing someone. Kate from his office. You remember Kate? The one you were worried about? Turns out you should have been. Their laughter followed me out. In the car, I found Michael's note wrapped around $500 and an apartment key, studio apartment on Vine Street. Paid through next month. They made me choose sides, but this is all I can do. Delete this after reading. My baby brother, still under their thumb, had risked their wrath to help me. It was more than anyone else had done. As I drove away, I noticed my cousin Lisa's car parked across the street. She was sitting inside, holding up her phone. Recording. She'd been recording. When our eyes met, she nodded once and mouthed, "I got it all." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, "This is Lisa. I recorded everything, including your mom hitting you. Their security cameras caught it too. Call me when you're ready. I'm so sorry." Then another, "Derek's been bragging at the gym about how he played you. I have witnesses. He's going to regret this." I pulled over and cried then. Not because my family had betrayed me, but because two people, Michael and Lisa, had chosen to help me despite the risk. Maybe I hadn't lost everything after all. Maybe I'd just lost the things that needed to go. Another text, this time from Derek, "Your sister says you came by the house acting crazy. You need help, Brianna. Also, I need you to return my grandmother's ring. It's a family heirloom." I looked at the cubic zirconia on my finger and actually laughed. Even now, he was trying to gaslight me. But I had witnesses now. I had evidence. And I had a place to stay that they didn't know about. I drove to Michael's secret apartment, a tiny studio above a coffee shop on Vine Street. It was small and sparse, but it was safe. As I unlocked the door with the key my brother had risked everything to give me, I made myself a promise. They thought they'd destroyed me. They thought they'd won. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd left me alive, and they'd given me nothing left to lose. Michael's studio apartment was basically a glorified closet with a kitchenette, but it was mine for now. I spent the first 3 days applying for jobs online, tailoring my resume, reaching out to professional contacts. That's when I discovered the true extent of Derek's sabotage. Email after email came back with variations of the same theme: "We've heard concerning things about your recent professional conduct." I called a former colleague, Janet, who'd always been straight with me. "Brianna, I want to help, but Derek contacted half the industry. He said you were fired for stealing company data, that you had a breakdown, that you threatened him. I don't believe it, but my boss won't even look at your resume." Stealing company data? Threatened him? The lies were getting worse and more elaborate. My LinkedIn started hemorrhaging connections. People I'd worked with for years were distancing themselves. Then Diane struck on social media. She posted a series of photos from what looked like a family intervention, with captions about supporting a loved one through mental health crisis and when family has to make tough choices. The photos were staged, taken at my parents' house after I'd left. They showed my family looking concerned, Derek holding my mother's hand as she pretended to cry, Diane comforting my father. The comments poured in with sympathy for them and judgment for me. Someone had tagged my professional network. My reputation wasn't just damaged, it was being systematically destroyed. On day 4, my bank called. There was suspicious activity on my account. Someone had tried to access it multiple times from different locations. The small amount I had was frozen while they investigated. I knew it was Derek, probably trying to see if I had hidden money somewhere. The joke was on him. $300 was all I had in the world. By the end of the first week, I'd stopped eating regular meals. The $500 from Michael had to last, and I didn't know for how long. Anxiety attacks became my new normal. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning, gasping for air, replaying every conversation, every missed sign that this was coming. The apartment walls felt like they were closing in. That's when Sophia knocked on my door. I'd seen her coming and going, always with a laptop bag and coffee. She was Michael's girlfriend, though my family didn't know about her. Mixed-race relationships were another thing my mother didn't approve of. Sophia stood there with a casserole dish and a tentative smile. "Michael told me you were here," she said. "He's worried sick but can't come by. They're watching him like hawks." I let her in, and the smell of homemade lasagna almost broke me. Real food. Someone had made me real food. As I ate, she opened her laptop. "I run a small digital marketing firm. I need someone to handle a client presentation this week. It pays $1,500. Can you do it?" I stared at her. But Derek, the things he's saying. Sophia waved her hand dismissively. I know Derek. Dated his roommate in college. He's a pathological liar who peaked in high school. I trust Michael's sister more than that creep. So, can you do it or not? I said yes. Of course I said yes. For the next 3 days, I poured everything into that presentation, creating a comprehensive marketing strategy for a local organic food company. It felt good to use my brain again, to remember that I was actually good at something. The day after I submitted the presentation, I met Elena. I was coming back from the coffee shop downstairs, nursing the same small coffee I'd been refilling with free hot water, when the elevator broke. A woman in her 50s with silver hair and knowing eyes was trapped with me. You're Michael's sister, she said. It wasn't a question. For 20 minutes, while we waited for repair, Elena Martinez told me her story. How her business partner and husband had conspired to force her out of the company she'd co-founded. How she'd lost everything at 42. How she'd rebuilt from nothing to create a multi-million-dollar consulting firm. The best revenge, she said, is massive success. When the elevator finally moved, she handed me her card. I mentor one woman a year. Someone who's been betrayed by the people who should have protected her. Call me tomorrow. And eat something real. You look like you're about to pass out. The elevator doors opened, and she was gone, leaving me holding the first lifeline I'd seen in 2 weeks. That night, Lisa called. My cousin had been busy. I've got everything documented. The video of your mom hitting you. Audio of them planning everything. Screenshots of Derek's messages to other women while you were engaged. Oh, and Brianna? He never put that $15,000 in his personal account. It's in an offshore account he thinks no one knows about. My friend at the bank saw the transfers. Why are you helping me? I asked. Lisa's answer was simple. Because I've watched your family tear you down my entire life. They did it to me too when I got my master's degree. But I didn't have anyone in my corner. You do now. She gave me the name of a lawyer, Harrison Beck. He's Elena's friend. He'll see you pro bono. Derek messed up. Taking that money from your joint account without your consent? That's theft. The defamation? Actionable. The assault from your mother? On camera. You have options, Brianna. The next morning, I called Elena. She answered on the first ring like she'd been waiting. Good. You called. Be at my office at 2. Bring your portfolio and wear something that makes you feel powerful. Borrow it if you have to. I had one good blazer left, the one Derek had said made me look too corporate. I put it on like armor. Elena's office was on the 20th floor of a building I'd dreamed of working in. She took one look at me and nodded approvingly. Better. Now, show me what you can do. For 3 hours, she grilled me on marketing strategy, challenged every idea, pushed me harder than any job interview ever had. When we were done, she leaned back in her chair. You're talented but scared. Fear is making you small. From now on, you work with me 3 days a week. I'll pay you contractor rates. Use the other days to build your own client base. But I don't have a computer anymore. Derek took the good one. Elena smiled. There's a laptop in that bag by the door. It's yours. Pay me back when you're successful. And Brianna? Stop checking social media. Let them think they've won while you build your empire in silence. That afternoon, I met with Harrison Beck. The lawyer was younger than I expected, with kind eyes and a fighter's instinct. Your ex-fiancé is an idiot, he said after reviewing everything. Multiple counts of theft, defamation per se, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Your mother's assault is on camera. Your family's conspiracy is documented. We can bury them. I don't want to bury them, I said. I just want my money back and my name cleared. Harrison smiled. That's what we'll ask for. But it's good to know we have nuclear options if they want to play hardball. First step, we freeze Derek's assets before he can hide that money. Second, cease and desist letters for the defamation. Third, we document everything for potential criminal charges. By the end of week 2 in Michael's apartment, my life had structure again. Monday, Wednesday, Friday with Elena, learning from one of the best in the business. Tuesday and Thursday, working on Sophia's clients and finding my own. Evenings with Harrison, building our case. Weekends catching up on sleep and slowly remembering how to eat properly. Amy finally reached out on day 18. A long text explaining how Derek had threatened to destroy her career too if she contacted me. How she'd been documenting his threats. How sorry she was. I read it twice, then responded, I understand. We'll talk when I'm ready. Forgiveness would come, but trust would take time. My bank account was unfrozen after the investigation found the suspicious activity was indeed Derek trying to hack in. The small victory felt huge. Then the first payment from Elena hit my account. Then Sophia's client paid. Suddenly, I had more money than I'd had in months. Not much by most standards, but enough to buy groceries, enough to stop panicking every time I bought coffee. 3 weeks into my new life, I was working on a campaign for one of Elena's clients when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Carl, Diane's husband. Brianna, I need to talk to you. Not on the phone. Can we meet? We met at a small diner outside of town. Carl looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. I'm leaving Diane, he said without preamble. I found texts on her phone. She's been having an affair for 6 months. But that's not why I'm here. He pulled out a folder. She kept records of everything they did to you. Like trophies. Every lie, every plan, every person they turned against you. I made copies. Inside the folder was my sister's detailed destruction of my life, written in her own hand. Names, dates, strategies. How they'd convinced Derek I was planning to leave him for a coworker. How they'd planted seeds of doubt about my mental health with my friends. How they'd coordinated with my mother to make sure I lost everything at once. The cruelty was methodical, thorough. Why? I asked Carl. Why would she do this to her own sister? He shook his head. Jealousy so deep it turned into hate. She couldn't stand that you were younger but more successful. That you got engaged first. That people liked you better. Your mother fed it, encouraged it. They've been planning some version of this since you got your job. He left the folder with me and one more bombshell. Derek's new girlfriend contacted Diane. He's doing the same things to her. Taking money, isolating her from friends. Diane laughed about it. Said you were just the practice run. I thought you should know. Maybe you can warn her. That night, I sat in my tiny apartment surrounded by evidence of my family's betrayal and felt something shift. The hurt was still there, but it was hardening into something else. Determination. They'd taken everything they could from me, but they'd failed to take the one thing that mattered, my ability to rebuild. Elena was right. The best revenge was massive success. And I was just getting started. 2 months into my new life, I registered my business, Phoenix Marketing Solutions. Elena had pushed me to think bigger than just freelancing. You're not a contractor, she'd said during one of our sessions. You're a CEO. Start acting like it. The name felt right. I was rising from ashes, after all. My first independent client came through Sophia's network. A startup needed a complete marketing strategy, and they couldn't afford agency prices. I undercharged, but I overdelivered. The founder was so impressed, she referred me to 3 other startups in her accelerator. Within a week, I had 4 clients and more work than I could handle alone. The viral moment came unexpectedly. One of my clients was launching an eco-friendly product line aimed at millennials. I created a TikTok campaign that played on the absurdity of corporate greenwashing. The main video showed a CEO literally washing green paint off products while making empty promises. It was sharp, funny, and brutally honest. 24 hours later, it had 3 million views. 48 hours later, major brands were calling. "That's my former employee's work," Elena announced at an industry mixer, her voice carrying across the room. Brianna Chen pioneered that approach. She winked at me. Using my married name would have been simpler, but I'd gone back to Chen. Derek didn't get to be part of my success story. Adweek called for an interview. The headline read, "Rising star Brianna Chen revolutionizes authentic brand messaging." They wanted to know my secret. I told them the truth: when you've lost everything, you've got nothing to lose by being honest. Consumers can smell fake from miles away. I just help brands tell the truth in compelling ways. The article came out on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, my inbox was flooded. Major brands wanted consultations. Startups wanted partnerships. Speaking requests poured in. I raised my rates. Clients paid them without blinking. For the first time in my life, I was valued at my worth. 6 months after losing everything, I signed a lease on a new apartment. Not huge, but mine. 2 bedrooms so I could have a proper office. Big windows that let in light. A kitchen where I could actually cook. The building had a doorman and security. After months of looking over my shoulder, safety felt like luxury. Moving day was emotional. Michael and Sophia helped, along with Amy, who'd been slowly earning back her place in my life. Lisa came too, having become one of my closest confidants. As we unpacked boxes, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Derek. I'd blocked him months ago, but he kept finding ways. Saw the article. We should talk. I always knew you'd be successful. We make a great team. I showed it to Lisa, who immediately screenshotted it. Keep documenting, she said. Harrison says the pattern of harassment strengthens your case. The universe has a sense of humor. The same day Derek texted, I got another message. This time from my former company. They'd lost 2 more major clients and were hemorrhaging talent. Would I consider consulting for them? My old boss Harold actually called personally. We made a mistake letting you go, he said. Name your price. I named a price. Triple my old salary for part-time consulting. He agreed immediately. The same man who'd let me go without a second thought was now paying premium prices for my expertise. I might have felt vindicated, but mostly I felt nothing. They were just another client now. 3 weeks into my new apartment, Derek showed up. The doorman called up, saying my fiancé was there. I don't have a fiancé, I said clearly. Please ask him to leave. If he doesn't, call the police. Through the security cameras, I watched Derek argue with the doorman, who stood firm. Eventually, Derek left, but not before causing a scene. That's when my mother started calling. 18 missed calls in one day. I didn't answer, but she left voicemails. Her tone had changed completely. Brianna, sweetheart, I think we've all overreacted. Family should stick together. I heard about your success. We're so proud of you. Call me back. Diane's approach was different. She sent an email to my business address. I know we've had our differences, but I'm reaching out professionally. I have a business idea that could benefit us both. Let's be adults about this. The audacity was breathtaking. 6 months ago, she'd destroyed my life. Now she wanted to profit from my rebuild. Then came the twist that changed everything. Carl called again. His divorce from Diane was getting ugly, and during discovery, something interesting emerged. Your sister has been stealing from your parents, he said. 4 years. Small amounts they never noticed. The money she claimed you borrowed and never returned? She took it. I have the bank records. This explained so much. Why Diane had been so eager to paint me as the family failure. Projection and preemptive strikes. If I was the disappointment, no one would look too closely at her. What are you going to do with this? I asked Carl. That's up to you, he said. It's your family. But Diane's trying to claim alimony, saying she supported me through school. That's a lie. The money she used was stolen from your parents' retirement fund. About $30,000 over 5 years. The old me would have immediately told my parents, tried to fix things. The new me filed the information away. Knowledge was power, and I was learning to be strategic. Harrison added it to our growing file. This is leverage, he said. When they realize what we know, they'll settle quickly. My company hit its first major milestone, $100,000 in revenue in a single month. Elena took me to dinner to celebrate. Most people take years to hit this number, she said. You did it in 6 months. What's next? What was next was hiring. I brought on 2 junior marketers and a virtual assistant. Small team, but mighty. We moved fast, took risks, delivered results. Word spread. Phoenix marketing became known for campaigns that felt real because they were real. Authenticity was our brand, born from my own brutal experience with lies. The Forbes 30 Under 30 nomination came through Amy. She'd submitted my story without telling me. You deserve this, she said when I confronted her. Let the world see what you've built from nothing. The interview process was intense, but therapeutic. Telling my story to journalists who actually listened helped me process it. Derek's new girlfriend reached out through Instagram. Kate, the woman he'd left me for, was living my old nightmare. He's doing everything you warned people about, her message read. Taking money, isolating me, making me feel crazy. I'm scared. Can we talk? I agreed to meet her. She looked like I had 6 months ago, hollow eyes, nervous hands, constantly checking her phone. He monitors everything, she whispered. Says it's because he loves me. But I found searches about offshore accounts on his computer. I think he's planning something. I gave her Harrison's number and Elena's. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And get out before he takes everything. As she left, she hugged me. He told me you were crazy. But you're the sanest person I've talked to in months. The day the Forbes list was announced, my phone exploded. Congratulations poured in from legitimate contacts, people who'd stayed silent during my downfall now eager to connect. I was polite but distant. Success had taught me to recognize fair-weather friends. Between the interviews and photo shoots, I was building something real. My company had structure, values, and a mission, helping brands connect authentically with their audiences. We turned down clients who wanted us to spin lies. We elevated brands willing to be vulnerable. In a world of fake perfection, we sold beautiful honesty. One evening, as I reviewed proposals in my office, I caught my reflection in the window. 6 months ago, I'd been broken on my brother's couch. Now I was running a company, living in a beautiful apartment, surrounded by people who valued my worth. The woman in the reflection looked confident, successful, whole. My phone lit up with another text from Derek. This time, a long rambling message about how he'd made mistakes, how we could start over, how he could help me run my business. I forwarded it to Harrison and blocked the new number. Derek was panicking, and I knew why. Kate had left him. His job was in jeopardy after his lies about me surfaced. His carefully constructed life was crumbling. The irony wasn't lost on me. He'd destroyed my life because he thought I had no ambition. Now his lack of integrity was destroying his. Meanwhile, I was thriving in ways neither of us could have imagined. But I took no joy in his downfall. The best revenge really was massive success, and I was too busy building my empire to waste time on schadenfreude. As year 1 of Phoenix marketing came to a close, I looked at the numbers. 7 figures in revenue. 12 employees. 40 satisfied clients. Industry recognition. Financial security. But more than that, I had something priceless, the knowledge that I'd built this myself, from nothing, with integrity intact. They'd tried to bury me, not knowing I was a seed. Now I was in full bloom, and everyone could see it. Including them. 6 months into running Phoenix marketing, we moved into real office space. Not just any space, but a corner suite in the prestigious Meridian Tower, the same building where my old company was struggling to stay afloat 3 floors below. The irony was delicious. As my team of 10 settled into our new home, I focused on what mattered, building something lasting. The industry award came as a surprise. The American Marketing Association nominated our campaign for EcoStart as Innovation of the Year. The same campaign that had gone viral was now being studied in university marketing courses. The ceremony was in 3 weeks, and everyone who was anyone would be there. You need to prepare for what's coming, Elena warned over coffee. Success makes people desperate. Your family's been quiet too long. They're planning something. She was right. The silence from my family had been deafening since I'd ignored their attempts to reconnect. Even Derek had stopped his harassment after Kate filed a restraining order with my help. Then Monday happened. I walked into my office to find Derek in the lobby, arguing with building security. He was disheveled, nothing like the put-together man I'd once planned to marry. I have a business proposition, he was saying to the guard. I used to work with her. We're partners. Security called up to confirm. There's a Derek Williams here claiming to be your business partner? I could hear the skepticism in the guard's voice. He's not my partner. He's not welcome. If he doesn't leave immediately, please call the police. I watched on the security monitor as Derek was escorted out, shouting about how I owed him, how he'd made me who I was. 20 minutes later, my assistant knocked. Brianna? Your mother and sister are in the lobby. They say it's a family emergency. Of course. Derek had been the warm-up act. I told security to let them up but to stay close. Whatever they were planning, I'd face it in my territory, on my terms. They walked into my office like they owned it. My mother, dressed in her best outfit, looked around with calculating eyes. Diane, thinner and harder than I remembered, sat without being invited. Nice place, she said. A bit ostentatious, don't you think? What do you want? I kept my voice steady, professional. This was business now. My mother launched into a prepared speech about family, forgiveness, and moving forward. About how proud they were, how they'd always believed in me. The revisionist history was stunning. Diane nodded along, adding comments about sisterly bonds and shared success. So you're here for money, I said when they finally paused. How much? The directness threw them. Diane recovered first. It's not about money. It's about family. Although, since you mentioned it, Daddy's been having health issues. The medical bills are overwhelming. And with my divorce. The divorce where Carl discovered you'd been stealing from Mom and Dad for years? I asked conversationally. The color drained from Diane's face. Oh, did you think I didn't know? $30,000 over 5 years. Creative accounting, sis. Too bad you kept such detailed records. My mother stood abruptly. How dare you speak to your sister that way? After everything we've done for you. The gaslighting was reflexive, automatic. But I wasn't the same person who'd stood in their living room crying 6 months ago. Done for me? You mean conspiring to destroy my life? Having me fired? Turning my fiancé against me? Assaulting me? Yes, Mom, I have that on video. Your security system caught you hitting me. Lisa recorded the whole conversation where you admitted to planning everything. You're lying, Diane said, but her voice shook. Families don't sue each other. You wouldn't dare. I smiled then, the same cold smile she'd given me that day in my apartment. I don't need to sue. I just need to tell the truth. Imagine if your country club friends knew about the theft. Imagine if mom's book club saw the video of her hitting her daughter. Imagine if everyone knew exactly who you really are. They left with threats about lawyers and family loyalty, but I saw the fear in their eyes. They'd created a monster, teaching me through their cruelty that family bonds meant nothing if wielded as weapons. The student had surpassed the teachers. The next attack came at the industry gala 3 nights later. I should have known they'd make it public. My team and I were at our table when I spotted them, my parents, Diane, and unbelievably, Derek as Diane's +1. They were at a table across the room, perfectly positioned to cause maximum drama. During the cocktail hour, they made their move. My mother approached while I was talking to potential clients, her voice carrying. "Brianna, darling, we're so proud of your little business. Though we do worry about your mental state. Working so hard after your breakdown." Every conversation nearby stopped. The clients looked uncomfortable. This was their plan, public humiliation disguised as concern. But Elena had trained me well. "I'm surprised to see you here, Mother. Especially after the restraining order. Are you supposed to be within 500 feet of me?" There was no restraining order yet, but she didn't know that. The fear that flashed across her face was beautiful. "How could you say such a thing? We're your family." Her voice rose, drawing more attention. Perfect. An audience was exactly what I wanted. "Family?" I laughed, pulling out my phone. "Let me show everyone what family means to you." The video played on the presentation screen behind me. Harrison had suggested I keep it ready, just in case. There was my mother, clear as day, slapping me across the face. Her voice echoing, "You ungrateful little brat." The room went silent. 300 marketing professionals watched my mother assault me on a giant screen. Then came the audio Lisa had recorded, their voices discussing how they'd planned my destruction. How they'd manipulated Derek. How they'd spread lies about my mental health. Every word damning. That's edited," Diane stammered, but no one was listening to her. They were watching Derek's face as his own voice detailed how he'd stolen $15,000 from me. How he'd been seeing Kate while we were engaged. His current employer was at the next table, his expression darkening with each revelation. "Security," I said calmly. "These people are harassing me and my staff. Please remove them." As security approached, my mother tried one last manipulation. "Brianna, please. We're family. You're breaking my heart." "You broke mine first," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But I rebuilt it stronger. Now leave, before I press charges for assault, theft, and defamation. My lawyer's here if you'd like to discuss it." I pointed to Harrison, who waved cheerfully from our table. They were escorted out in front of everyone who mattered in our industry. Derek's employer pulled him aside in the lobby. From what I heard later, he was fired on the spot. Apparently, they'd been investigating some financial discrepancies, and his confession about stealing from me connected dots they'd been trying to figure out. But the evening wasn't over. I had a speech to give about our award-winning campaign. As I stood at the podium, looking out at a room full of people who'd just witnessed my family's destruction, I made a choice. I could pretend nothing had happened, or I could own it. "Well, that was unexpected," I began, earning nervous laughter. "But in a way, it's perfect. Our award-winning campaign was about authenticity, about brands showing their true selves even when it's messy. What you just saw was my truth. 6 months ago, those people destroyed my life because they couldn't stand my success. Today, I stand here running a $1 million company, surrounded by brilliant people who value integrity over manipulation." The applause started slowly, then built. Someone shouted, "We've got your back, Brianna." Others joined in. By the time I finished my speech about authentic marketing and the power of truth, I had 3 standing ovations and 20 new business cards from Fortune 500 companies wanting to work with us. After the gala, the text started. My father, who'd been silent through everything, finally spoke up. Your mother's lost her mind. She's destroying our reputation. Please make this stop. Michael was more direct. They're in full panic mode. Mom's been disinvited from 3 charity boards. Diane's country club suspended her membership. Dad's golf buddies won't return his calls. I didn't respond to any of them. But when Derek's new ex, Kate, called to thank me, I took the call. He's been arrested, she said. After you exposed the theft at the gala, I went to the police with my evidence. He stole $40,000 from me. They found the offshore accounts. He's looking at serious jail time. The Forbes 30 Under 30 issue came out the next week. My story was featured prominently. From betrayal to billions, how Brianna Chen built a marketing empire on radical honesty. The journalist had fact-checked everything, interviewed witnesses, even gotten a quote from my former boss admitting they'd made a mistake letting me go. My phone rang off the hook with congratulations, but also with investors interested in scaling Phoenix marketing. One particular call stood out. James Morrison from Morrison Ventures. I was at the gala, he said. I've never seen anyone handle a crisis with such grace. We should talk about your growth plans. And maybe dinner, if you're interested. I was interested, but cautiously. My picker had been broken once. It wouldn't be again. Business first, I said. Dinner can wait until after due diligence. He laughed, a warm sound. I wouldn't expect anything less. How's Thursday for the business discussion? As I prepared for that meeting, an email popped up from an unexpected source. My father. The subject line, you were right. Inside, just 3 sentences, I've filed for divorce. The evidence you have would help. I'm sorry I didn't protect you when it mattered. I forwarded it to Harrison. Let the lawyers handle it. I had a company to run, a life to live, and no time for people who only recognized my worth after I'd proven it to the world. The tables hadn't just turned, they'd been flipped, set on fire, and rebuilt in a configuration where I held all the cards. And I was just getting started. The Morrison Ventures deal was progressing beautifully. James Morrison proved to be everything Derek wasn't, respectful of boundaries, genuinely interested in my business acumen, and patient when I said I needed time before considering anything personal. We'd had 3 business meetings, and Phoenix Marketing was on track for a $10 million valuation. Life was good. Which should have been my first warning. The annual Marketing Excellence Summit was the industry's most prestigious event. Phoenix Marketing had been invited to present a masterclass on authentic brand storytelling. My team and I prepared for weeks, creating an interactive presentation that would showcase our methodology. This was our chance to establish ourselves as thought leaders, not just practitioners. The night of the summit, the ballroom was packed. 700 industry professionals, including CMOs from major corporations, influential journalists, and potential clients worth millions in contracts. I was backstage doing final sound checks when the event coordinator approached nervously. Ms. Chen, I need to inform you there's been a situation. Your family is here. They have tickets. My blood chilled. How? She looked uncomfortable. They're guests of Meridian Corporation. Apparently, your sister works there now? Meridian Corporation, one of our competitors, known for aggressive tactics and questionable ethics. Of course, Diane had found a way to infiltrate the industry that had embraced me. I found them during the cocktail hour, holding court near the bar. My mother, resplendent in designer clothing she probably couldn't afford anymore. Diane, with a Meridian Corporation name tag, talking animatedly to people I recognized as potential clients. My father, looking older and smaller than I remembered. And impossibly, Derek, cleaned up and wearing a suit, standing beside them like he belonged. They'd brought reinforcements this time. Extended family members, my mother's society friends, even my high school guidance counselor. An entire army designed to make me look unstable in front of everyone who mattered. They were spreading through the crowd like poison, no doubt planting seeds of doubt about my mental state, my business practices, my integrity. Brianna. My mother's voice cut through the crowd as I took the stage for my presentation. We're so proud of you for overcoming your challenges. Several heads turned. The microphone picked up her voice, amplifying it through the room. I could pretend not to hear, or I could face this head-on. Elena's words echoed, "Never let them see you sweat." "Thank you," I said into the microphone, my voice steady. "I have overcome significant challenges, including theft, defamation, and assault from people who were supposed to love me. But that's not what we're here to discuss tonight. We're here to talk about authentic marketing." I began my presentation, but they weren't done. Diane stood up, her voice projecting. "It's so brave of you to speak publicly after your mental health crisis. We were all so worried when you were hospitalized." There had been no hospitalization. This was a new lie, designed to discredit me in real time. The audience was getting uncomfortable. Some were recording on their phones. This was either going to be my finest moment or my professional funeral. I made a choice. Actually, let's address this directly. Marketing is about truth, and the truth is that my family is here tonight to destroy my reputation because my success threatens them. Diane, would you like to tell everyone about the $30,000 you stole from our parents? Or should we discuss how you're now working for Meridian Corp., who coincidentally is bidding against us for the Maxwell Industries contract? Diane's face went white. She hadn't expected me to know about the Maxwell bid. "That's confidential information," she shrieked. The Meridian executives at her table looked alarmed. She'd just confirmed she'd been sharing competitive intelligence. "No," I said calmly. "It's public knowledge. Unlike the private information you've been selling to my competitors." "Yes, I know about that too. Our forensic accountant found the trail." "Harrison, would you like to share what we discovered?" Harrison stood from his seat in the front row, document in hand. "We have evidence of corporate espionage. Ms. Diane Peterson has been selling Phoenix Marketing's client lists and proprietary methodologies to Meridian Corporation. We filed charges this morning. The FBI served warrants 2 hours ago." The room erupted. Meridian's executives were on their phones, probably with their lawyers. Security moved toward Diane, who looked like she might bolt. My mother stood, shaking with rage. "You ungrateful child. How dare you embarrass your family like this?" "Embarrass?" I laughed, and it felt good. "Let's talk about embarrassment." I clicked to a slide I'd hoped not to use. It showed a timeline of their actions, complete with evidence. Emails. Text messages. Bank records. This is what my family did to me. Systematically destroyed my life because they couldn't stand my success. But here's the beautiful thing about truth in marketing, it always comes out. The next slide showed Phoenix Marketing's growth trajectory alongside timestamps of their attacks. Every time they tried to destroy me, my company grew stronger. Every lie they spread taught me the value of truth. Every dollar they stole motivated me to earn millions. They didn't break me. They built me. Derek chose that moment to stand. "She's lying. I have proof she's unstable." He held up his phone triumphantly. Whatever was on it, he seemed certain it would destroy me. But Kate, beautiful brave Kate, stood up from across the room. "That's my phone he stole," she announced. "Those are fake messages he created. I have the real ones right here, showing how he doctored evidence." She connected her phone to the presentation system. The screen filled with Derek's text messages, showing him bragging about creating fake conversations, planning to destroy my reputation, admitting to theft. The FBI warrant Harrison mentioned? It wasn't just for Diane. Derek's offshore accounts had triggered federal interest. "This is entrapment." Derek shouted as security surrounded him. 2 FBI agents who'd been waiting in the lobby entered the ballroom. The warrant was real, the timing orchestrated perfectly. As they read Derek his rights, he looked at me with pure hatred. "This is your fault. You ruined everything." "No," I said into the microphone, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. "You ruined everything when you chose greed over love, lies over truth, manipulation over partnership. I just refused to let you bury me with it." My mother made one last attempt, tears streaming down her face. But these weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of narcissistic rage. "You've destroyed your family. Your father left me because of you. Your brother won't speak to me. You've ruined everything." "I set them free," I corrected. "Dad, Michael, everyone you controlled with manipulation and guilt. They're free now. And so am I." I turned to the audience, many of whom were riveted by the drama. This isn't how I planned to teach about authentic marketing, but maybe it's perfect. Authenticity isn't just about being real. It's about standing in your truth even when people try to tear you down for it. The applause started in the back, spreading forward like a wave. Someone yelled, "That's how you handle a crisis." Others joined in. By the time security had removed my family and Derek, I was receiving my second standing ovation in as many months. But this one felt different. This wasn't sympathy. This was respect. The rest of my presentation went flawlessly. The audience was more engaged than any I'd ever faced. They asked deep questions about vulnerability in branding, about turning personal truth into professional strength. When I showed our client results, including campaigns that had tripled customer engagement through radical honesty, hands shot up with offers to work together. After the presentation, the room transformed into an impromptu networking event centered around Phoenix marketing. CMOs approached with contract offers. Journalists requested exclusive interviews. 3 different publishing houses wanted me to write a book about authentic leadership. James Morrison stood at the edge of the crowd, smiling proudly, waiting patiently for the rush to die down. Harrison approached with his phone. "The FBI wants to thank you." Derek's arrest led them to a larger fraud ring. He was small-time, but his connections weren't. Your evidence broke open a major case. It seemed Derek had graduated from stealing from girlfriends to bigger schemes. Prison would be his new home for a significant time. Michael texted from the lobby, saw everything on the live stream. "I'm proud of you." Mom's lost it completely. She's blaming everyone but herself. Dad's lawyer says the divorce will be final soon. He wants to apologize properly when you're ready. I told him to wait. You deserve peace. Amy and the Phoenix team surrounded me, champagne appearing from somewhere. "You know what the best part is?" Amy said, raising her glass. "They came here to destroy you and instead gave you the best marketing case study ever. This is going to be taught in business schools." Elena swept in, elegant as always. "That was masterful. You turned their ambush into your coronation. Every person in this room will remember tonight, and they'll remember you as the woman who faced down her demons and won. The contracts will pour in now. Get ready to scale." She was right. By the time I got back to my office the next morning, there were 47 serious inquiries from Fortune 500 companies. My email was full of partnership proposals, speaking requests, and interview offers. The video of the confrontation had gone viral, but not in the way my family had hoped. I was being hailed as a master class in crisis management. Diane was arrested that afternoon at Meridian's offices. The corporate espionage charges were serious, and Meridian immediately distanced themselves, claiming they had no knowledge of her activities. My mother retreated to what was left of her social circle, but even they were abandoning ship. The society pages, which she'd always cared about so much, were brutal in their coverage. A week later, James Morrison took me to dinner. Not to discuss business, but to celebrate. "I've been in venture capital for 20 years, he said. "I've never seen anyone handle adversity with such grace and turn it into such triumph. You didn't just survive them. You transcended them. As we talked through dinner, I realized something had shifted. For the first time in over a year, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. My family's power over me had been an illusion, held together by my belief that their approval mattered. The moment I stopped needing their love, their weapons became useless. So what's next? James asked as dessert arrived. World domination? I laughed, really laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. No. Just building something real. Something they can't touch or destroy. Something mine. The Forbes article update ran with the headline, "The Ultimate Comeback, How Brianna Chen Turned Family Betrayal into a Business Empire." But I preferred the text Michael sent that night, "You won, sis. Not because you destroyed them, but because you refused to let them destroy you. That's real victory." He was right. In trying to bury me, they'd planted me instead. And now, I was in full bloom, roots too deep and branches too high for them to ever reach again. The war was over. I'd won by becoming someone they couldn't touch, myself, fully realized and finally free. 1 year later, I stood in the conference room of Phoenix Marketing's new headquarters, looking out at the city skyline. The company valuation had hit $10 million, exceeding even our most optimistic projections. 50 employees worked across 3 floors, creating campaigns that had revolutionized how brands connected with audiences. But the view that morning wasn't what held my attention. It was the email on my phone from Harrison, Derek sentenced to 5 years. Diane took plea deal, 2 years plus restitution. Your mother filed for bankruptcy. Your father's divorce is final. I felt nothing reading those words. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just a strange emptiness where my anger used to live. They were just names now, people who'd once held power over me but had become footnotes in a story I was no longer writing. My story had moved beyond them. You ready for this? James asked, entering with coffee. We'd been together 6 months officially, after he'd waited patiently for me to trust again. He was everything Derek wasn't, secure in himself, genuinely proud of my success, and most importantly, kind. His family's venture firm was about to announce Phoenix Marketing as their flagship investment, but that wasn't why I was with him. I was with him because he saw me clearly and loved what he saw. The conference room filled with my team for our Monday morning meeting. These people had become my chosen family. Amy, now our VP of Strategy, who'd earned back my trust through consistent action. Sophia, our creative director, whose faith in me had never wavered. Even Michael, who'd finally broken free from our parents and joined as our head of digital innovation. He was thriving away from their toxic influence. Before we start, I announced, I want to share something. Today marks exactly 1 year since I moved into Michael's secret apartment with nothing but $500 and a broken heart. Today, we're announcing the Phoenix Foundation, a nonprofit that will provide resources and mentorship to people escaping abusive relationships, whether romantic, familial, or professional. The room erupted in applause. This had been my dream, turning my pain into purpose. The foundation would offer what I desperately needed. Emergency housing, legal resources, career counseling, and most importantly, proof that life could begin again after betrayal. That afternoon, I was scheduled to speak at my alma mater about entrepreneurship. As I prepared my notes, my assistant knocked. Brianna? There's a man here who says he's your father. Should I call security? I paused, then made a decision. Send him in. But stay close. Thomas Chen entered my office, looking like a shadow of the man who'd stood silent while his wife destroyed me. His hair was gray now, his expensive suit replaced by simple clothes. He looked nervous, humble even. Thank you for seeing me, he began, sitting only when I gestured. I know I don't deserve your time. I waited, saying nothing. Let him fill the silence for once. I've been in therapy, he continued. Learning about enabling and codependency. I was weak, Brianna. I let your mother control everything because it was easier than standing up to her. I failed you as a father. Yes, you did, I agreed simply. What do you want? He pulled out an envelope, hands shaking slightly. The divorce settlement. I'm giving you what should have been yours. It's not about the money. It's about acknowledging what we took from you. Inside was a check for $50,000. The amount meant nothing to me now, but the gesture held weight. I don't want your money, I said. Give it to the Phoenix Foundation. They'll use it to help other people whose families failed them. His eyes filled with tears then, real ones. I'm proud of you, he said. Not for your success, though that's remarkable. I'm proud that you didn't let us break your spirit. You became better, not bitter. I had help, I admitted. People who showed me what real family looks like. Michael, Sophia, Elena, my team. They taught me that blood doesn't make family. Love, respect, and loyalty do. He nodded, understanding this was goodbye. As he left, he turned back. Your mother still blames everyone else. Diane too. But I know the truth. We did this. I'm sorry it took losing you to see it. That evening's speech at the university was supposed to be about business strategy. Instead, I talked about rebuilding after betrayal. The auditorium was packed, students and faculty listening intently as I shared the real story behind Phoenix marketing's success. The worst thing that can happen to you might also be the best, I told them. When I lost everything, I thought my life was over. But it was actually beginning. Every rejection taught me to rely on myself. Every lie they spread showed me the value of truth. Every attempt to break me made me stronger. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize you already have everything you need within yourself. During the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. My family disowned me for choosing my own career path. How do you deal with the guilt? I saw myself in her eyes, that familiar pain of rejecting family expectations. Guilt is their weapon, not your burden, I answered. You can love people and still refuse to let them destroy you. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. After the speech, Elena waited in the lobby. My mentor had become more like a mother to me, showing me what maternal love should look like. You've graduated, she said simply. You don't need me anymore. I hugged her tightly. I'll always need you. But now I can give back too. The Phoenix Foundation launch event was scheduled for the following month. We'd already received massive support from the business community. James's family foundation pledged matching funds. Several of my clients offered pro bono services. Even my old company, now a client, contributed significantly. Harold had publicly apologized for letting me go, calling it the worst business decision he'd ever made. As I planned the launch, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Kate. I wanted you to know Derek tried to contact me from prison. He's still blaming everyone but himself. But I'm good now. Really good. I started my own consulting firm. You saved my life, Brianna. Thank you. These calls came regularly now. Women who'd seen my story and found strength to leave their own toxic situations. Men who'd realized they were being manipulated by narcissistic partners. Adult children breaking free from abusive parents. Each story reminded me why I'd chosen to be public about my journey. The night before the foundation launch, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my apartment, marveling at how different life looked now. Pictures of my chosen family covered the walls. Awards lined the shelves. But the thing I treasured most was a simple note from Michael: you showed me it was possible to break free. Because of you, I found Sophia, found my career, found myself. You didn't just save yourself. You saved me too. The launch event was beautiful. Hundreds of people gathered to support the Phoenix Foundation. Survivors shared their stories. Donors pledged resources. Corporate partners offered job training programs. It was everything I'd dreamed of creating from my pain. During my speech, I noticed someone in the back. My mother, aged beyond her years, standing alone. Security moved toward her, but I shook my head. Let her see what she'd motivated me to build. Let her witness how her cruelty had been transformed into compassion for others. She left before the end, but not before I saw the recognition in her eyes. She'd created her own worst enemy, a daughter who'd succeeded without her. As the evening wound down, James pulled me aside. In front of everyone who mattered to me, he dropped to one knee. But this wasn't Derek's showy proposal designed to trap me. This was quiet, sincere, perfect. Brianna Chen, he said, you've taught me that real strength comes from vulnerability, that success means lifting others up, and that love should make you more yourself, not less. Will you marry me? The ring was perfect, ethical, and real, just like him. Yes, I said, meaning it with every fiber of my being. The room erupted in genuine joy, my chosen family celebrating love built on truth rather than manipulation. Amy cried. Michael cheered. Elena smiled her knowing smile. These people who'd stood by me through the worst now got to witness the best. 6 months later, I married James in a small ceremony surrounded only by people who'd earned the right to be there. Michael walked me down the aisle, Sophia as my maid of honor, Elena officiating. My biological parents weren't invited. They'd forfeited that privilege when they'd chosen cruelty over love. During the reception, I raised a toast. They say the best revenge is success. But I've learned something better. The best revenge is happiness. It's building a life so beautiful that the people who try to destroy you become irrelevant. It's choosing love over bitterness, purpose over pettiness, growth over grudges. They thought breaking me would end me. Instead, their cruelty built an empire of compassion. I lost fake love but found my true self. Sometimes the worst day of your life is actually the first day of your real life. As James and I danced, surrounded by authentic love and genuine support, I thought about the woman crying on her ex-fiancé's couch 2 years ago. She thought her life was over. She had no idea it was just beginning. Every loss had been a redirection. Every betrayal had been a lesson. Every attempt to bury her had been planting seeds for this moment. My phone buzzed with a notification. Another message to the Phoenix Foundation from someone ready to rise from their own ashes. Tomorrow, I'd help them start their journey. Tonight, I danced with my husband, celebrated with my chosen family, and marveled at the life I'd built from ruins. They'd taken everything they could from me. But they'd failed to take what mattered most, my ability to rebuild, my capacity to trust again, my determination to transform pain into purpose. In trying to destroy me, they'd created something they never expected, a woman who knew her worth and wouldn't settle for less. The phoenix had risen, and she was finally, fully, free. Thank you for joining me on this journey from betrayal to triumph. If my story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What's your phoenix moment? When did your worst day become the first day of your real life? Please hit that like button if this story inspired you, subscribe for more content about overcoming adversity, and share this with anyone who needs to hear that there's life after betrayal. Remember, sometimes being broken is just the beginning of becoming unbreakable. Until next time, keep rising.